Batetta, who is the CEO of Visit California. Also to Dan Fenton and Bethany DeRose, our key strategic partners through JLL. And then, of course, our Paper Moon creative team, which is our design agency as well. Of course, we'll have many amazing speakers and guests here presenting later on. You'll get to meet them as well. So thank you for all of you joining us today to share about Morgan Hill and the state of California. And then, of course, our esteemed board of directors, quick shout outs to Edith Ramirez, Chris Shagoni, Andrew Firestone, Carrie Benjamin, David Dworkin, Giuliano, Doug Hall, and Alexis Solis as well. And then my man, our tech savant, John Lang, thank you so much for joining us as well today. I'm excited to hear about how we're moving forward and the things that we've accomplished, and the person who's going to lead us through that today is our executive director, our amazing executive director, Krista Rupp. Krista, all yours.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, everyone. We are so excited to have you. Thank you for taking the time out of your Friday to join us. We have a great lineup for you. Starting off with our keynote speaker, as Michael shared, we have Carolyn Batetta, the CEO of Visit California. And then we'll also have a brief update about what Visit Morgan Hill has been up to. And then we will hear from several of our regional and local partners. So before we move into the keynote, I just want to let everyone know that the Q&A box is how we will be managing questions. So after Carolyn's speech, we will go ahead and look at the questions and read them off to her. So please use the Q&A function and we will get to your questions after the presentation. So without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Carolyn Batetta from Visit California.
Oh, thanks, Krista. It's a pleasure to be here today on this Friday, and I'm just so impressed with the turnout today, and there's a bright future ahead for Visit Morgan Hill now that you guys have gotten through your T-bid. So I hope my comments today are relevant in terms of the connective tissue that we can create for amplifying the glow effect for Morgan Hill. And that's really what we're here to do at Visit California, particularly as we find ourselves in this epic crisis around COVID, and I'll be getting into that. So it's a critical time that you guys have had this visionary initiative, and your set point is going to bode well for the future, since I'm ever hopeful that, you know, we're at least rounding the corner on COVID. Just for those that are new to Visit California, I threw up the slide just so you understand how we work with our destinations in California within the ecosystem. And our job, first and foremost, is to drive top of mind awareness through the inspiration of the California lifestyle and brand. Because if people aren't thinking about California, they're never going to make it or have it put into the consideration set Morgan Hill. So we work that way on a brand platform, which we call Upper Funnel. And then we are constantly working hand in hand with Krista and her team, particularly as we move forward, when people start to initiate the planning process after they've been, quote, dating California. And then, of course, all of you that are with us today, you know, you're really the delivery of the brand promise and the transaction, and the reason why people keep coming back to Morgan Hill and California. So it's a critical piece, and thus we labeled it the Golden Triangle at the bottom. So with that, I hope that's a little bit of helpful of where we sit in the tourism marketing ecosystem. You're really fortunate because we have a very robust industry, even given this crisis. About 20,000 partners that fund Visit California, primarily coming from rental cars and then accommodations, but still supported by attractions, transportation, restaurant and retail, and recreational segments. So the funding structure is very similar to T-bids, and as a matter of fact, it was the first T-bid in California. So that's why we look so complementary. The other important note about Visit California is it's led by a very robust executive level of leadership. You see the icons of not only California, but global hospitality icons that we work with on a daily basis to strategically implement our global plan of work, plus the 300 DMOs we're working with. But strong and diverse board is really helpful. Just as note, we have James Birmingham as our board chair, Bay Area local Dan Gordon from Gordon Biersch, also an officer, as well as a neighbor of yours, Jean Zenger, partner of Casa de Fruta, and Paula Beck representing the rental car categories at the officer level. So I'm just going to shift to really where we sit with COVID and frankly the wildfires. You know, I don't think you read this in the headlines, but California is outperforming the US in terms of maintaining, you know, a measure through this crisis in terms of the COVID outbreaks. We're actually 9th best in the state in terms of the cases per capita. As a matter of fact, Santa Clara County is in the 2nd lowest risk at the orange tier, which is great. I know you already know that, but that really proves well when we're starting to see spikes in other parts of the country. Like you, we are also working with the industry to address how we pivot from the coronavirus, which has been, you know, quite a fall for us, given that we were in the 10th consecutive year of record growth. In 2019, topped $145 billion in spending. We're actually the #1 travel destination in the United States, 5 times the size of the Hawaiian tourism economy, for example, and 1.5 times the size of the Florida tourism economy. So a lot of positioning and opportunity for Morgan Hill, given that you sit in the largest tourism economy in the United States. COVID was not kind to hospitality and tourism, and you can see that precipitous fall of about 55.5% that we're projecting for our 2020 numbers. Absolutely devastating that we'll be falling and putting us back about a decade. We don't think we'll reach our 2019 numbers until about 2024, unfortunately. So, you know, now we also find ourselves layered into the wildfire season, which has created, you know, an extraordinary challenge for us. Obviously, there's been close calls threatening Morgan Hill, and I hope at some point that we get through this. We do convene wildfire crisis roundtables in the affected areas. So while this is the best of the best, it reflects who's been impacted, and I hope Morgan Hill doesn't find their way onto this list, at least for this season. But know you have a support base that we are dealing with, trying to amplify messaging, you know, during a crisis, navigating through a crisis, and then on the recovery front as well. You can see that nearby destinations have been partaking in this wildfire crisis council for this year. We also share talking points to help DMOs guide travelers during wildfire season and speaking with the media. Those are available at industry.visitcalifornia.com. Either Krista or my team can even throw those up in the chat for you. I'm going to pivot now back to COVID recovery and what we are doing on an unprecedented level to respond to this crisis. First, there's 3 primary goals that we're focused on during the recovery, and that is really continuing to prepare when we can more actively welcome travelers out of California and eventually internationally. We're facilitating responsible travel for those moving around now, and we're providing industry support in many activations around earned, owned, and paid media. Just to give you an idea of the pivot, we know that we are experiencing a jagged recovery and that this stairway to recovery can actually go both ways. But I'm thrilled that we are at the midpoint where we see a campaign called Calling All Californians, where for the second time in our history, we've actually pivoted to a robust in-state campaign, which we have not done since 9/11. I will get into that, as well as a Never Normal Safe PSA that we launched as well. But you can see where we're headed, hopefully by next spring, back into a national campaign with our new All Dreams Always Welcome creative. And then the frontier, unfortunately, is international, thus the reason why it is in gray. So I mentioned Calling All Californians as well as Never Normal. I'm excited to share those with you, but I just want to mention a couple key contextual issues that we look at when we create messaging, particularly with such a dramatic pivot. And you can see that here on this slide is we have 3 key messaging motivators that are informing our creative and our strategy. First and foremost is traveler safety and responsibility, to give encouragement and confidence in the consumer that all of you in the travel industry are taking the best of care to keep people safe when they're visiting California or Californians visiting around California. There's a modern day act of patriotism that we as Californians can do to support our fellow our Californians in the hospitality industry. So economic recovery is a very important part of the message, thus the campaign name, Calling All Californians. And finally, all of this is still wrapped in inspiration and what we call brand package to create compelling content. In addition to that, as I said, we really have leaned into the safety messaging and have created a responsible travel code. And this program, while embedded during the pandemic, will have dependencies, and we will be going forward with a longer and long-term sustainability plan. You see the word Respect California in the logo. It's actually an acronym reflecting our value and guiding principles in terms of responsible travel and tourism in California that you see on the right side. It's been widely popular, and it's one of our top engagement areas within our own channel network. People are constantly referring to it, and part of this code, it has a navigational tool that helps guide people and link off into destinations and what the status of destination travel is within California. So with that, I want to go back to, again, how we inform travelers of the utmost importance of safety. We're thrilled that we were able to sign a partnership with the California Broadcasters Association, giving us quite a bounce in leverage media, almost 30%, and making sure that our safety messages in California are not really an admonishment, but they're an encouragement to do it right, and you will be safe and you will keep these beautiful destinations safe. But there's still a reason to celebrate all of us being Californians, for example. So with that, let's roll Never Normal.
There's a lot of talk about getting back to normal, but in California, normal's never really been our thing anyway. So masks are mandatory. That's our kind of party. Keeping our distance? Can do. And if you're not washing your hands a lot already, maybe you haven't been getting dirty enough. So if this is the new normal, no problem. We'll roll with it, take it in stride, and ride it out. Help California stay safe and open. Learn more at visitcalifornia.com.
So on top of that, as you see, I mentioned this, and on top of that, we're now layering in our Calling All Californians campaign, which is an in-state brand campaign, but we do have a dozen plus co-op partners that are helping to extend the reach and frequency of this campaign because we are all stretched for resources. So we're thrilled it's digitally led, and soon we'll be layering back in our California Road Trip Republic content and initiative, as well as that very robust platform, because people actually feel very safe traveling in individual vehicles, and we are primed for success, as well as Morgan Hill is primed for success. Well, as I said, I want to get back to safety one more time, because another unprecedented thing we did was to create safe travels videos that dive into our individual traveler segments, principally rental cars and hospitality, but even wine country, which kind of leans into the culinary experience. We really, it's important that consumers feel safe in traveling California. This content was developed so that our industry segments could use it and link to it with their own professional messages, and it's also going very well. So I'm just going to run all three of these back to back.
These parents are in uncharted territory. It's called finally taking a vacation. They're traveling the California coast with confidence because they picked up a rental car in a touchless process after it passed through strict sanitizing protocols. What they're less sure of is if they can dig themselves out before the tide rolls in. Staying safe means staying open. Learn more at visitcalifornia.com. This guy is in a strange position. It's called relaxing on a midweek getaway. He's at ease here because California hotels and resorts are following strict spacing and sanitizing protocols to keep guests safe. But one question does puzzle him. What is in this delicious beverage? Alas, that mystery will remain unsolved for now. Staying safe means staying open. Learn more at visitcalifornia.com. This couple is in an unfamiliar situation. It's the long-awaited evening out. Yes, they can relax thanks to the strict spacing and sanitizing protocols at California's wineries and restaurants. So their only dilemma now is who gets to enjoy this masterpiece of meat and cheese. And with that, the charcuterie question is answered. Staying safe means staying open. Learn more at visitcalifornia.com.
So you can see from those, the first and foremost goal is to give people confidence in traveling throughout their backyards. We have an embarrassment of riches here. It's a world-class destination, and it's a great time for Morgan Hill to be able to capitalize on your assets, drawing people from nearby. And that's what this brand campaign is designed to do. I mean, ultimately, we at Visit California are here to support all of our destinations. And as a matter of fact, we have in our annual visitor guide, we do have several notes on Morgan Hill as well as Santa Clara County that's actually garnered 209,000 page views and more than 22,000 partner handoffs for your destination. So it's compelling and it's working very well. Our job is to inspire and then push them into your destination for planning and transaction. That is first and foremost how we work, and now you're seeing that in this creative of how we execute as per the protocol that I talked about at the top of this. Our social content also has received over 12,000 engagements related to your destination specifically. And we are always looking for new product that we can package. So we have partner opportunities and we have a content submission tool as well as cooperative opportunities so that you can leverage this platform and amplify your gorgeous destination. Amber Rich is somebody that may be of interest to you to reach out to. She's head of our industry relations and engagement, and she really does connect the dots for these platforms. Many of them are at absolutely no cost. So with that, I just want to close by saying we have a weekly research dashboard. I do a weekly newsletter, and you can see here on the screen if you want to take a quick snapshot of that, or I will post it in the chat. Get connected, sign up for the newsletter, And thanks so much for letting me relish in the experience of Morgan Hill this morning. Thank you, Krista.
Thank you so much for that overview, Carolyn. I feel that that was a nice, comprehensive yet to the point overview of what you do, what's going on, and how Morgan Hill can be a part of this. So in the chat box, we do have a couple questions, and some of them are actually from the same person. So we have our board member, Andrew Firestone, and he has some questions about what's going on in Sacramento. So I'm going to add Andrew here so that he may pose his questions to you.
Right. Do you want me to read them and then just kind of recite an answer? Is that the idea, Krista? I'm happy to do that.
Hi, Carolyn. How are you?
Good. How are you, Andrew? It's been a long.
Great, thank you.
Oh, it's been a long time.
It has. It has. Lucky you for staying away from Sacramento. But thank you for doing the hard work for us up there. I think one of the things that would be really valuable for all hoteliers, not only in Morgan Hill but across the state, is to get a clear understanding of what we're up against. There is no question that COVID is here. It's here to stay for at least the next 8, 12, 16 months, and we're just going to have to learn to live with it. The one thing that's making us very nervous across the board is this changing of the goalposts and moving things around, where first we didn't want to overrun our hospitals. We didn't do that. We've been very lucky so far in California and how quickly we reacted. And then there was just a straight measurement of infection, and then these tiers came into play. And then now it's an equity metric that's coming in as well. So this constantly moving the goalposts makes us nervous in terms of where should we be putting our energy. Should we be batting down the hatches and not spend any money on marketing or budgets for fear of California shutting us down? Or should we be more optimistic like you guys look? We're saying, look, we are open, we are doing all these amazing things to be safe, and we have. The hotel industry, the hospitality industry have been incredibly reactive and proactive in terms of its management. And so I guess my question is, what do you think Sacramento is going to put onto us next? Should we be nervous or should we be optimistic?
Oh, that's a heavy weighted question, Andrew. I wish I were the health department. And I definitely have a go-between between myself and the health department. I liaise regularly with the governor's office of economic development, GoBiz, where we have a dotted line there, and thus the dotted line over to health. So I'm just going to talk from a personal filter because we are separate from the state of California, and we do touch and facilitate, I don't want to say on behalf of businesses, but I'm in regular contact with them, but I'm not the advocate like the California Travel Association. So I'm only speaking from the fact that I have a ringside seat, but I'm not in the arena, let's say, in terms of decision making. And what I would say is that, everyone is optimistic that we're going to get through this. As a matter of fact, the governor reached out to myself and 4 other individuals last week, and we did have a robust conversation via Zoom about what comes after COVID, and that we've got to start to prepare to bring this state up. So I haven't heard from him during the crisis. It's not a negative sentiment. It's just that he has been so hyper-focused on managing the crisis. But I think it is a positive sign that now, as they're looking at the end of the year and that we're coming through this better than other states, the fact that he reached out and said, okay, let's start the discussions. We're going to need to work with you to bring this economy back. No promises, there could be a spike, but I think that's a pretty good signal that they're starting to see the tail end of this in all hopes. And you know, we know a vaccine is coming. That's going to be helpful as well. So where does that really, you know, put us? I think that puts us into, as much as your business can afford to do so, you've got to operate in the moment. And again, the good news is, being in California, Californians spent $60 billion last year on traveling throughout California. That's astounding. That's probably bigger than 30 states, you know, gross tourism product. It's 60 billion would be bigger than New York, because we're actually 2.5 times the size of the New York tourism economy, for example. So there are opportunities in our backyard, and that's why I don't want to say you see us positive. We pivoted for the first time since 9/11, and our focus is in state. So I don't know if that's helpful, but that's where we are.
It's helpful, but I guess my request, and this isn't an immediate answer, but as you start to read the tea leaves in Sacramento, as much information as you can push out to all of our TVIDs and all the markets, all counties, would be incredibly helpful, because as much as I do want to be in the moment, you know, my October is going to be much different than my January, especially in my leisure markets. And
right.
for restaurants right now who have been able to go and have, you know, in some counties, 25% interior seating if they hit a certain tier. Well, if that tier goes away, then they're going to lose their seating and they have to go back outside. And now it's the rainy season.
Absolutely.
And I know a lot of people are getting sick and fed up with going, well, I'm going to build this piece of my business out to only get the rug pulled out from underneath them when they take it away. So whatever we can do to kind of minimize the highs and lows. And I'd rather not move between a big tier if it means that it's going to get taken away from us right away. So anyway, there's no right answer to this question other than to say that we are all in partnership here. And if we're pushing forward uniformly, I think we'll do a greater amount of good, because the people here on this call employ hundreds of people in Morgan Hill. And if we don't think that we're going to be successful as a business, it suffers and it trickles down a lot. So thank you for being our voice.
Absolutely, and I'm doing so on a couple times a week, continuing to do so. I also would encourage you all to follow up with your legislators. They need to hear from you, because that's a different voice or channel into the administration of the Department of Health. And then stating the obvious is your new partner in life. I'm sure you never thought you'd hear the day, but is your local health department that is on the phone communicating every day with the state health department. So those are a couple other channels. I'm sure you know that, Andrew, but for everybody on the phone, nobody's exempt from communicating with their legislator and local health department.
Thanks, Andrew, for the questions, and thanks, Carolyn, for hopping in with some answers to the tough question marks that we have. I do know that you went to the California State Legislature recently, along with other representatives, and how did you feel that they were receiving the input about how this has affected the California tourism industry?
I thought it was another hopeful sign. So the Assembly Tourism, Arts, Entertainment, Sports, Internet Committee is our policy committee for the travel and hospitality industry. That committee has a new chair, Sharon Cork Silva, who hails out of Orange County and is naturally a champion of travel and hospitality. So that background I think is important, because she didn't have to do a hearing. It was actually an in-person hearing. It was the first time I had appeared, I think, and put on a full suit in a few months, and was in the Capitol. And she did that on purpose, because she wanted to demonstrate that we can engage on a personal level and do it safely. So it had an all-star lineup of people in the industry testifying, from Florida, Universal Parks, to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Julie Packard was there testifying, the head of the Theme Parks Association, and many others. And it was powerful, with big impact. She wanted to meet with me the following week afterwards. So she's leaning into this and highly engaged. And I think that is another voice for us to, hopefully continue to break through and open one step at a time.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. It's good to hear that. It's reassuring. And as Andrew said, thank you for being our voice. Another
Dan Gordon, who is kind of in your neighborhood, also testified on behalf of all restaurants in California, and he was extremely powerful and compelling as well.
Mm. So we have another question from one of our local restaurant owners. It's Nick Gaish of Craft Roots. And first off, he says, wonderful presentation. And he would like for you to elaborate a bit more on the Road Trip Republic campaign and how that may cascade into our local community efforts in Morgan Hill.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I appreciate that. And the Road Trip Republic is something, a global brand campaign that we launched prior to COVID, as a matter of fact, and has had a lot of, quote, traction and had been very successful. And then when COVID hit, we went dark on all channels, and it really hadn't fully realized the opportunity and reflect the trends that even prior to COVID, people had a renewed, embrace with traveling by car. I would say that we have the best destination in the world to travel and experience the joy of independence and independent travel, authentic travel, and just following your dreams than any other destination in the United States. And that includes Morgan Hill. And that's what I love about this campaign is we are providing a content platform that you can check out on our website. And then prior to when we went dark, it had a digital complement to it, and we are bringing that back. So it has not only an own channel integration, but it also is part of our digital brand strategy. And when we shift into Western feeder markets, we will migrate our messaging from calling all Californians to California is calling. So this has a long legs, and we really are dependent on this campaign to help bring us back as we migrate outside of California. And Morgan Hill is completely poised to, with your positioning where you are in the state and your content, to take this opportunity as a platform. So we can do more lower funnel with the staff to make sure that we're integrating Morgan Hill nicely. I will say also, it also comes with a complimentary annual road trip guide. So we put out a separate guide, inspiration guide, on encouraging people to really look beyond our gateway urban core. And again, that's where you're ideally positioned, because you're not, quote, the urban core of San Francisco, but you're a reachable market, whether we're talking about in-state, Western feeder, national, or even long-term international.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So we have two last questions, and we do want to try to keep these succinct. One, I'm going to go with John McKay's question. He is one of our Morgan Hill residents and city council members. He's wondering about traveler sentiment with COVID. I believe the figure is at about 80% travel ready. Could you share what that means exactly?
Yeah, so that is a really great question, highly intellectual, as a matter of fact, because since the outbreak, we've been tracking traveler sentiment on a weekly basis. I think we're the only destination in the United States that has tracking of weekly sentiment on such a granular level. And what that led us to, from a breadcrumb perspective, is that we could see that while some people were saying they're not ready to travel, as we turn the corner in the August timeframe, they might be saying that in our weekly surveys, but they're actually traveling. So their definition of travel might have been getting on an airplane, leaving the state. not getting in the car and coming to Morgan Hill. And so that was the delta between what we saw was 45% or lower than 50% of people wanting to get out and travel. But then over time, we could see there was an actuarial that showed that 80% are actually traveling or having a bigger willingness to travel, which informs how we market. So there's a lot more confidence out there than, quote, sentiment and polls suggest, because we can track actual travel.
Great, thank you. And so this one is maybe a little longer of an answer, but just, you know, a brief answer. How do you think Project Room Key will impact our California hotel industry? It's a broad question, but curious to your position. And this is from Andrew Firestone.
Yeah, I think it's too soon to tell for us, Andrew. And I also think it's very checkered, depending on the adaptation given Northern, Southern, Central California. And then also how long some of these hotels are used for that, or if they're permanent, where they're actually located. I think it's geographic dependent in terms of where we stand with that. And so I'm waiting and watching over the long term. Certainly there's a concern that it takes inventory out in the short term for us. But at the same time, our demand levels are a lot lower. I mean, the reality is a lot less people are traveling. But as we come out of COVID and our demand levels are higher, we obviously are going to need more inventory. So we'll see where that goes in the next few months.
Thank you so much. I know it was rapid fire questioning for you, but we do really appreciate your time and sharing with us. And again, the representation you have for our industry at the state level. So Carolyn, thank you again. You know, if there's any other questions that didn't get answered, I'm happy to help field those and get them to the right people at Visit California. So please, if you have any requests, enter them in the Q&A. And any parting words, Carolyn?
It was great to be with you guys. You really put me to task with awesome questions. I love the engagement. I don't normally get so much engagement when I do these virtual speeches. So thanks for your time and attention, and let's just call this the first of many conversations and discussions on how we partner in the future.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, and thank you to your team.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye. Have a great weekend. Okay, so thanks everyone for your engagement on that. We are going to shift gears into the next part of our forum, and I will be giving a brief update to you about Visit Morgan Hill and what we've been up to in 2020, as well as hear from some of our strategic partners after this segment. So I'm going to kick it off with a video, and this is just an overview of what Visit Morgan Hill has been doing the past several months. Okay, so I hope that that was a nice, concise overview for you. If you did not catch in the video what our mission and vision are, I have them here on the slide. We want to position Morgan Hill as a vibrant leisure, sports, and event destination and be a catalyst for local tourism benefit through overnight hotel stays. With that, our long-term vision is recognition of Morgan Hill as a dynamic destination and having a thriving local tourism economy. So how do we get there? One way is by sharing engaging, informative content. Content is king. Visuals, stories, all of these things allow us to provide visitor content and create campaigns. Things like our website and our social media. Many of you have been engaging with us on social media, which is fantastic. It just makes us stronger and creates a more compelling story. Another thing that we do is work with facilities and venues to build relationships and educate decision makers for strategic markets like sports and events. So things like partnering with our local outdoor sports center to bring youth or adult sports events. But we really needed a plan. As a newer destination marketing organization, we need to be smart and efficient with our resources. So we worked with JLL's Tourism and Destination Advisory Team to develop a 3-year destination strategic plan. So we do want to give a little shout out to Dan Fenton and Bethany DeRose. For those of you that attended the Tourism Symposium last year, you may have met them. So the goals of our strategic plan were to really create a roadmap for the next 3 years and long term for Visit Morgan Hill. We wanted to identify target markets and understand our visitor product. So we did our research. We spoke with over 200 individuals through the Tourism Symposium, focus groups, individual meetings and interviews, and a survey. We did a background study. We studied the situation in tourism in Morgan Hill. We looked at other destinations, and we looked at the current tourism trends and things going on in our industry. We also did a market study. We extensively looked at the assets that Visit Morgan Hill and Morgan Hill destination has, and we measured those. We looked at the strength of those on an attractor scale, and then we identified positions and opportunities. And so ultimately what came out of our strategic plan was 4 priorities. And so these are areas of focus where we feel we can move the needle based on what Morgan Hill has. So reading them off, we have sports tournaments, events and festivals, leisure marketing, and product development. So obviously with the first 2, we do have to take into consideration limits on gatherings because of COVID-19. So throughout the plan, we did take that into consideration with our recommendations. And so I do want to dive into each of these priorities a little bit deeper. The first one being sports. So sports are a business development market. It's extremely relationship driven, and we have great existing facilities. We want to work through partnerships to continue to maintain and enhance and maybe even bring new sports development. And as we've seen, sports have been able to work somewhat within the current COVID-19 guidelines. We had 2 successful events at the OSC, one being the Reebok CrossFit Games and the other being a youth goalie soccer competition. And touching on events and festivals. So this is kind of a 2-fold priority. Similar to the sports market, we want to use what we have and bolster existing events so that they are attractive and compelling to markets outside of our area. We also want to look at our venues for private events as well. So weddings, celebrations, we have lots of venues. So again, this is a business development market, but we also approach it through partnership by enhancing and bolstering what we have. Leisure marketing is a big opportunity. Putting together a comprehensive, compelling visitor message is something that hasn't been done on this type of scale before. So we do feel that with our wineries, dining downtown, outdoors, and cycling culture, that we do have an appealing destination here. This, as you've seen with the other presentations so far, is an opportunity through partnership and marketing communications. And again, that content and message and the visuals are really important for this market. And product development is kind of layered over everything we do. So whether it's leisure, sports, events, we're always looking for ways to partner, advocate, and support for new development and growth and what we have to offer visitors. We want to enhance their experience. We want to make our destination compelling. So this is a long-term visionary goal, and it's something that is extremely dependent on strong community partnerships. So we are now moving into the next segment of our forum. And in order to bring these different priorities to life, we have a lineup of speakers and pre-recorded videos. We will have time for Q&A again after we get through this next segment. So again, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A and indicate who your question is for, since we're running through several different presentations. So first, we want to hear from our regional partners. So we've lined up Visit San Jose, Visit Gilroy, and our Santa Clara Valley Winery region. The first one, Visit San Jose, we do have a video. So this is a pre-recorded video with Laura Shimilewski, the Vice President of Marketing Communications.
Hi, Krista. It's always great to see you. Thank you so much for having me. As Krista said, I'm with Visit San Jose, which is a part of Team San Jose. We are the destination marketing organization, but we also run the convention center and the 4 historic theaters downtown. So when Krista asked about the state of the industry, it's dire. When COVID hit, we lost close to 40 conferences and conventions and so many theater performances. So it's not good right now. The good news is that in the last few weeks, Santa Clara County health officials have approved leisure visitation. So we can start talking about visiting our hotels again. And our hotels are now open for leisure stays.
So how is Visit San Jose pivoting its marketing efforts now that business travel is off the table?
We're taking a hyper-local approach. We're talking to a very local audience about workcations and staycations. Importantly, to actually help talk about safety and help them find a way to support local businesses, not only locally owned hotels, but restaurants as well.
Yeah, we're seeing that with the sentiment data that consumers that are deemed travel ready, they're really looking for safety, but they also want to support local. So in your marketing, in your shift, how are you targeting those people? How do you find them?
That's a really good question. We are very, very fortunate at this time and at this moment in history. We can target so sophisticatedly that we can only serve our ads to people we know have left their house and feel comfortable moving about. We can target people who we know have spent overnight visits other places. We target people who have actually shown intent to travel into the South Bay area. So this isn't your usual brand campaign. We are not talking about building awareness through radio or television. We are actually just targeting you if we know you are looking to stay somewhere in the Bay Area, and then we're going to do our best to serve up compelling San Jose messaging to help you make your choice there.
So speaking of that messaging, how are you positioning that for your audience?
During COVID, when we lost all of our marketing budget, and we have since gone to our board to request emergency funds to start marketing again, but we kept our own media channels. So we kept our website, we kept our e-newsletter, we've got a strong consumer support locally for our newsletter and our social media channels. We turned them over to our local cultural organizations and our local nonprofits in need. Those partnerships helped us identify the School of Visual Philosophy that is doing amazing work teaching people how to move safely through society again. They've developed something called Safely Social San Jose. So we're partnering with them to help people learn this. We call it a new dance, right? How we stay safe and still feel comfortable leaving our homes.
That is so creative. I love the partnership angle, and I learned a new word, visual intellectualism.
Visual philosophy.
Visual philosophy, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing with us. As we wind down this interview, do you have any final parting thoughts for our Morgan Hill community?
I do. I guess we say this to everybody. Krista and I know that marketing is an optimistic thing. We believe in our future, and we believe in our vision as leaders. Sometimes we have to take people into that future, but we have to show them how. So I would say partner with great people. I know I've partnered with Krista in the past, look forward to doing it again in the future, and believe things will get better, and then safely make moves toward that. I hope that's helpful. I think everybody's thinking that.
Yeah, thank you so much. That safety message is so important, and we also look forward to continuing our relationship with Visit San Jose.
As do we. Thank you so much. Everybody take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so next up we have Jane Howard from Visit Gilroy, our neighbor to the south. Thank you, Jane, for being with us. Could you share a little bit about what you're seeing in Gilroy and what your focus is right now?
Sure, Krista, and thank you for having me as part of your forum. And congratulations to Visit Morgan Hill. You've come a long ways in terms of the work you're doing, and having worked with you personally in your prior life, I'm really excited for you as well as the destination. Visit Gilroy, just historically, we've been doing tourism. I've been here 15 years, and our TV has been in existence since 2013. Our key, and any time through this whole process, not especially now, but even before, it's all about collaboration and cooperation. Visit Gilroy, similar to Visit Morgan Hill, is a small destination, and together, that's how we are out in the world. And we have done some great cooperative marketing efforts through COVID, which include a campaign with the Yosemite Journal, and that's done through the Central Coast Tourism Council, and then also California road trips, and that's done through Visit California. And one of the real pluses of those particular co-ops are that we get leads from those particular campaigns on a weekly basis. Those leads are direct communication for us then through email, through direct mail, that we can now be in touch with because they express an interest in coming to this area. So as we continue to operate through these challenging times, we are blessed that we operate at California Welcome Center, only one of 14 in the state right now. We're open 7 days a week. We continue to see visitors, of course, primarily, and I just looked at the numbers yesterday again, about 90% in-state. And they're driving in from anywhere from the Bay Area, from the Central Valley, and to the South. So as we continue to see that people just want to get out, and I was talking to two gentlemen yesterday from LA, and they were just so glad to be in our lovely area and comment about, you have no idea how nice it is just to get into this kind of area. I think one of the things that Chris and I really want to focus, and I know my board is certainly supportive of, is collaboration and co-op opportunities with Visit Morgan Hill. We have shared assets. We're so blessed at the Santa Clara Valley Wine Trail. We can so, work together with the leisure marketing, and it just makes sense that both communities will benefit. So again, congratulations to Visit Morgan Hill. Looking forward to working with you, and always remember that even though it's a little tough right now, we will get through it. And I thought Carolyn's message was strong. And I actually heard something 2 days ago from Roger Dow from the U.S. Travel Association that I thought really hit home. And he was quoting Billie Holiday. And the quote was, "The difficult I'll do now, the impossible will take a little longer." We're in the difficult, and we got what might look like impossible, but it's just going to take a little longer. So thank you, Krista.
Thank you, Jane. Always a pleasure chatting with you. We appreciate you sharing with our Morgan Hill community, and look forward to exploring future partnerships to help our communities.
Excellent.
Thank you. Okay, I'm shifting back to our presentation deck. Next up, we are going to hear from the Santa Clara Valley Wineries Association with another pre-recorded video. So you're in for a treat.
Well, hello. I bet you didn't know I was here. And like so many people in our area, these vineyards are also on the list of things people don't know exist in our area. My name is Gina Guglielmo, and I am on the board of the Association for the Santa Clara Wineries. And I am here just to let you know that our mission as an association is to educate the people and to educate the public on the fact that we're a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to making sure that our region is highlighted when people think about going to California for some good wine. We have 35 wineries on the trail. We're one of the oldest regions in California, including the United States. And what we want to do is make sure that not only are we educating the young on the art of growing wine and making wine by providing some scholarships to our high school kids going into the industry, but we also want to make sure that the community knows, that the state knows, and the United States understands that we are and were the first wine region to exist, and we're still here. So I just invite you to tell your neighbors, tell your friends, come on out and see what we've got going on. Got a bunch of awards coming out of this region. We've got 35 members right now, and during this time, during the pandemic, we are focused on supporting each other and also letting the public know that we are open. So come on down and see us.
Okay, so next up, we are going to go back local. We're going to go to the Morgan Hill community. So we have another lineup for you of some local partners. And first up, okay, so we're going to hear from Dan McCraney at Ladera Grill via video. Then we'll hear from Chris Keone with City of Morgan Hill, and also from Brittany Sherman with the Morgan Hill Chamber of Commerce.
So we're in our 10th year at Ladera. We started out in May of 2011. We converted what was a deli into Ladera Grill, which is a sit-down fine dining restaurant. We monitor every month exactly where our guests come from. And in the past 3 or 4 years, we have seen that about 60% of our guests on weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, come from north of Morgan Hill. That's San Jose, Cupertino, Palo Alto, that area. And about another 10% come from the Monterey, Carmel area. The rest on weekends are Morgan Hill, San Martin, and Gilroy. So we have about 2/3 of our guests on weekends coming from outside of the Morgan Hill, South County community. So at Colibri for the last 3 years, I purchased a frame shop about 3 years ago, renamed it Colibri Gallery and Frame. And over the past year, we have been modifying the structure so that we can have true fine art. So we are now just opening up Colibri, which is a relatively small, about 1,500 square foot gallery. Our plan is to use Colibri as kind of a springboard to get started in the area of gallery. And to that end, I own a lot on Monterey and 2nd, which is going to become a much larger gallery. It's our dream is to have a 2-story, about 5,000 square foot gallery, or in other words, a gallery 5 times larger than what Colibri is currently on First Street. And we hope to have that finished within the next 18 months to 2 years. So another great question. I honestly think that Morgan Hill transformed maybe about 12 years ago, beginning with the successful use of the RDA money, which Morgan Hill did in order to create some of the great infrastructure here. Then about 10 years ago, all of us began in downtown to focus on fine dining. And the result of that is you see that Morgan Hill is becoming much more of a destination outside Morgan Hill. You see that in my numbers, and I'm sure you see that with all the restaurants. But what we have today is that Morgan Hill is predominantly known as a destination for fine dining. What's needed, I think, is classic retail. We don't have a lot of classic retail here. As I said, was mostly dining. And I'm hoping that having a large fine art gallery can be kind of the springboard, and it can be kind of the point for where we can start developing lots more of non-dining retail in downtown Morgan Hill. And I think that'll cause an amplification of the tourist experience in Morgan Hill.
Okay, so next up we have our City of Morgan Hill Public Services Director, Chris Schione. He is also a board member of Visit Morgan Hill. So what do you have to share with us today, Chris?
And thanks, Krista. Just a kind of brief update for the City of Morgan Hill. So I am Chris Schione. I work with the Community Services Department, and we provide community services, parks, and those things to the community, but we balance that with trying to expand our sports tourism facilities and what we're able to provide there from a city perspective. So just kind of a quick update over the last year. As every speaker before us has said, it's been a little bit of a trying time. Just a little over a year ago, we onboarded a new operator for our outdoor sports center, which was really intended to turn that facility around. And I don't think they ever expected, after getting into this, that COVID would have changed it. They had planned to bring back several of the soccer tournaments that CUISA had hosted. And then our team at the Aquatic Center had actually booked the first adult masters national event that we were going to be able to host at the Aquatic Center, which were canceled because of COVID. But that didn't stop us. As Krista mentioned, the Outdoor Sports Center last weekend hosted the CrossFit Games, which was another national level event we hosted in Morgan Hill. And a big credit goes to Sean Zarai with the MHOSC, who did all the work to reel them in and make that event happen, with some help from our team at the Aquatic Center. And those two facilities next to each other really helped provide a great venue that was showcased across the country. At the Outdoor Sports Center over the last year, we have added 2 more lighted fields, added a significant amount of parking, and then Sean and his team with the MHOSC are now installing in-ground irrigation. So as we come out of COVID, that facility is going to be really ready to bring a lot of events back. And that site in particular is really exciting to us. Over the last couple of years, the city's actually purchased over 13 acres of property just south of the Sports Center and the Aquatic Center, which is intended for an expansion of sports and recreation facilities. And we're actually working to master plan that this current fiscal year, which includes an opportunity for potential sand volleyball courts, as well as other parks and recreation amenities. So if people have interest in that or want to talk on that offline, feel free to reach out to me. Outside of what's happening off Condit Road with our major sports facilities there, the city's excited that we're able to apply for a new park grant with the state of California, which we think we will have a even better chance than we had the previous year when we applied to receive funding to build a $10 million park next to the Butterfield overpass, which would, if we get the grant funding, which would include 2 BMX pump tracks, as well as another baseball field and multi-use field. So we're excited about that facility as well. And I think that's my 2 minutes, so I will stop right there.
Thanks, Chris. Exciting stuff. So next up, we have Brittany Sherman from the Morgan Hill Chamber of Commerce. Hi, Brittany.
Hi, Krista. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. My name is Brittany Sherman. I'm the CEO president for the Morgan Hill Chamber of Commerce. I've worked in hospitality and the tourism industry for about 12 years, the last 6 years in Morgan Hill. So to say I'm a proponent of tourism and visit Morgan Hill is an understatement. The Chamber was an active participant in the conversation and activation of Visit Morgan Hill, and we have worked alongside the organization since its launch. The Chamber has been representing business and building community since 1958. Tourism health is important to our business community as they look to attract and retain employees, entertain clients, and operate in a safe, respected, and enjoyable city. Tourism health is important to our residents as it provides them a higher quality of life through leisure activities, personal connections, and crafting a sense of community. Since March 2nd, our 2 organizations have partnered even more closely together to work on a number of visibility, marketing, and support initiatives. A few months back, the Chamber secured a place branding grant with the City of Morgan Hill Economic Development Team to have a local artist paint 30 sidewalk art squares to spotlight Morgan Hill features and highlights. Visit Morgan Hill was quick to partner on the project with us and design 7 of their own squares containing messaging aligning with California's tourism messaging around COVID. Visit Morgan Hill has also partnered with us to help develop and support a citywide Buy Local campaign, educating residents of the importance of patronizing our local businesses and highlighting those businesses and services through social media. As we proceed through the pandemic support and recovery phases, I anticipate partnering with Krista and Visit Morgan Hill on many future initiatives to support both our business and our residents and continue to coin Morgan Hill as a tourism destination. Thank you, Krista.
Thank you, Brittany. Wow, what a year we've had. You know, it makes it all the better having so many wonderful community partners. And so I'm going to go back to our presentation deck. I have one last video for you. I hope that these different speakers have been able to bring to life for you a little bit the priorities that have been set with our strategic plan. But again, we also want to acknowledge the crises that we've been through, whether it be coronavirus or wildfires. And I did put together a brief video for you about how our community really has come together. So I will play that for you now. Okay, so the next segment that we have is actually Q&A. We made it through our jam-packed agenda of speakers and presenters. And so at this point, if you have questions, you may enter them in the Q&A box. I do have one from Nick Gage already. And I will, Nick, if you would, if you're open to being a panelist, I can make you a panelist. Or I can read your question. We hope to keep this kind of engaging, and I will make you a panelist. And so once you are in, if you would like to switch on your audio and or video, you can ask your question, Nick.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Chris, I apologize for a naive question, but what data analytic platform are we using with Visit Morgan Hill? And then how do we leverage that data as well as then disseminate the information to all the various business verticals we have to be able then to incorporate that into the roadmap of what you're developing? So it's kind of a long-winded question. I may be naive because I'm just entering some of these discussions, but we heard much about targeted marketing, both from San Jose, from Gilroy, and from Visit California. So what are we leveraging as far as that data information? Then how do we disseminate that across the broad platform of individuals we have on the phone today to be able to incorporate better lessons learned from some of the information?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. At the moment, we have Squarespace for our website. So that is the current analytics platform that we have for visitmorganhill.org. That gives us some good information, but part of our annual plan is to roll out more Google Analytics. So looking into some kind of baseline keyword search, and the analytics available through Google are a lot more robust and customizable. So that's something that's in our roadmap. Then we can see what content is performing best on our website. We do already have some glimpses into that. So looking at the future, reporting out, digging deeper into those analytics will allow us to create better content. As for disseminating information out to the businesses and partners, this is something that we could look at doing reporting that is available to you, so you can see as well what's trending, what's doing well. The other element to this is that our website does have an RFP submission tool. So if somebody is looking for an event venue or a hotel room block, they can submit that through our website, and we disseminate that out to the appropriate venues and hotels. And we can see that conversion in our Squarespace system.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Chris, as we're waiting for additional questions, and sharing with the audience.
John, can I pause you for a moment? We're having a little bit of audio issue. I'll mute myself.
Is that any better?
Well, I'm not sure what's going on with John, but I'm sure that he has some insight into this as well. John actually started our Squarespace website when Visit Morgan Hill was founded, so he may be able to elaborate a little bit on your question.
As I just came back in, can you restate what the question is, please? You're muted, Nick.
I'm sorry, John. Yeah, I think I learned this technology by now, right? Now, I'm curious to understand what platform we're using for data analytics, and more importantly, then how do we disseminate that information out to the various verticals that we have as far as businesses, and then use that information to leverage the roadmap of moving forward. I mean, we heard a tremendous amount from San Jose and Gilroy and Visit California on very targeted marketing based on who's traveling, why they're traveling, what are their interests to travel, et cetera. So if we have that collective information available to us, it may allow us to have a stronger collaborative of efforts moving forward based on the information that the data analytics is providing.
Yeah, absolutely. As Krista mentioned, the website platform is Squarespace. So there is a lot of analytics built into it in terms of kind of tracking information, where is the audience coming from that's visiting the site, how long are they staying, what's the content that they're most focused on, are they leveraging some of the tools as far as what are the hotels or places to visit in Morgan Hill. So there is a bunch of data that we could certainly cobble together out of the system and share. I think there are some other feedback loops that as part of the strategic plan that's been worked on with the TBID about how to create a better sense of collecting information. It's one thing to kind of see where people are going and kind of click through information. It's another to kind of do that check-in with the restaurants and some of the other venues of, you know, what are they seeing? And there's always this talk of like a passport system, being able to kind of track, yes, I started here and I went here, here, here. So there has been conversations about that, still a work in progress, but there is some initial data that we can certainly pull out of the system. I hope that answers your question. And the one thing I was gonna
and I can add, you know, some of this data is actually through third parties. So it's pay to play. When you do a major campaign or you partner with a major third party data source, they can actually go specific into what you're looking for, but it's a pay to play thing. So they kind of handle the targeting and the privacy laws, and then you give them the content and pay them to deliver that up to that audience.
Well, it's just something for us to be thinking about as far as a coalition, right? So we would probably have to come up with the measures and the metrics that would be important to be able to drive tourism. But from that, I think having that information at hand, we're just better prepared, right? Because we're better informed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's all about targeting. Mm-hmm. Hi, Edith.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Good. Just Nick, great question. The way that I would answer it, or the only thing that I would add, is that we're just starting to get there, right? Mm-hmm. The first year has been all about getting the basics, the strategic plan, and now coming up as part of Krista's work program is going to be looking at that marketing plan. Okay. And once we launch that marketing plan, then we can be very strategic and figure out where that audience is. But excellent question. Thank you. And Krista, I just wanted, I know that you have a schedule and you have a program. Everything is going great. Wanting to give you kudos for that. Thank you for letting me chime in.
Thank you. Okay. Any more questions?
And I did want to remind the audience, we do have some of the people that appeared in the videos. They are actually on listening. So if we needed to, if you had a question for a couple of the video taped interviews, we do have several of those folks on the call. We could certainly pose those questions to them. And then while we're waiting, I would ask Krista, you know, in light of all the conversations, and the big theme of what's been happening is about safety. And I know I believe there was an effort by the TBID to try and help with that effort early on with COVID. Can you chat a little bit about how the TBID was kind of responding to this issue of safety and kind of this ability to reopen safely?
Yeah, so that's been another partnership effort. So I started in March, and 2 weeks later we were under a full shelter in place. And so many of the business organizations, including Visit Morgan Hill, shifted to coronavirus communication, sending out those guidelines that seem to be changing and updating every week. One way in particular that the hotels were involved with that was that they were still open for essential travel. So that being medical workers or things like that. I did work with the state, the California Department of General Services. They were actually seeking out hotel contracts to house COVID-related medical staff. So Visit Morgan Hill played a role in that, kind of, again, that conduit or the referral link to all of the hotels to get them that information quickly so that the hotels could respond to the inquiry. Other ways that the TBID has been involved, I mean, mainly just as a place for housing. They also housed people during the wildfires, and you know, whether it was staff or evacuees or firefighters. Does that answer your question, John?
It does, and I know they also played a role in masks and providing masks to various businesses and other institutions. Yes. There are a couple other questions, and I know we are rounding the corner, so why don't we kind of get to the remaining questions and then we can do your program wrap up here. So Jody Hall has posed the question, you know, is there a newsletter or another type of way that the TBID is targeting regional businesses that may want to leverage these videos or other videos and looking for promotional material about the area and a way to help support or push or drive tourism into Morgan Hill?
Well, if I'm translating the question correctly, we do have a tourism community newsletter, and it is primarily focused on Morgan Hill, but there's no reason why it could not be more regional. That is how we communicate with local businesses, partners, everyone who makes up the tourism economy here in Morgan Hill and our neighboring regions. And as for materials and content, if it's requesting content that the individual partner could use, that's definitely something ahead in the future that we're looking to develop. We are just finalizing our branding. You've seen some of the branding elements here in the presentation today, but as we finalize that and continue growing and moving forward as an organization, we will have materials representing the region as a whole, or the Morgan Hill region, that businesses might be able to leverage. So if I understood that question correctly, I hope that was your inquiry.
And then Board Member Firestone, I think, is just reiterating what you said, the critical role that the TBID played in the COVID response in terms of coming up with policies. So I think with that, why don't we close Q&A and you can wrap up the rest of the program.
Yeah, one last comment. I mean, the hotels really have implemented things that make these hotels incredibly clean and safe. It's pretty amazing. They had to shift fast and shift strong. So thank you to all of the hotel properties. It has not been easy. Okay, so I would like to invite our board chair back, Mr. Michael Meredith.
Hey, great job, Krista. Really appreciate all the time you put into this. I want to echo that same kudos that Edith said about making those connections. I know that you're going to talk just a little bit more about how you can connect with Visit Morgan Hill if you have ideas on assets that are in our market or avenues for growth, we're all about it. So thank you so much for putting that together. I just want to give some additional quick shout outs. Thank you so much to sort of my captains, the co-captains of our board here that are the officers, our treasurer, Chris Chagoni, and Secretary Edith Ramirez. Thank you for always being there to contribute. And again, back to all of our esteemed board members as well. Thank you for all the help and time you're putting into taking our beautiful community and moving it forward. So we appreciate that. Thanks again to JLL. Thanks to Visit California. And I turn it back over to you, Krista. Thanks for letting me keep it short. Let's tell them how we can connect with Visit Morgan Hill.
Thanks, Michael. I echo that as well. All the thank yous to our speakers, partners. Thank you to John Lang for your support during this webinar. Super important, and I really appreciate it. Last up, I just have ways to get in touch. So if there was something you want to ask, my door is always open, figuratively. You may email me. My email address is here on this slide. You can call me. Happy to chat and answer your questions, brainstorm, all of that. We do have our tourism community newsletter. You can sign up for that right here at this URL. And then we have our social media channels. So engage with us, tag us, share. We're happy to engage with you as well. And as I mentioned, that you know, just it bolsters all of us. So looking forward to working with you through the next several months. And thank you for your attendance. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.
Hey, Krista, really quickly before we wrap up here, just one additional shout out, because I noticed that our good friend and previous board member, Dina Roy-Desai, is on here as well. I want to give her a quick shout out. Everybody, if you get a chance, she was our nominee for Visit Morgan Hill for Philanthropy Night. So all the work that she's done for the community, kudos to you, Bina. Thanks so much for being part of everything that we've done thus far.
Thanks, Bina. Bye, everyone. Bye.